Hi, folks. Welcome to the Witty Whistle, your go-to show for all things Irish football related. My name is Vitor Vicente, and I'm tonight joined by John O'Shea for another action-packed episode. We have plenty to cover from the LOI review of last week and the FAI Cup semi-finals, and to how the Irish teams are shaping up the Conference League, and also the Irish national team trip to Portugal on Saturday. We also look ahead to the First Division preview and the weekend's League of Ireland fixtures taking place on the weekend. And as always, we also want to hear from you. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts in the chat or comments. Tell us your predictions and let us know who are you backing this weekend. Also very important, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and help us grow the community within Ireland and beyond. Let's get started. Time to blow the whistle and another great week of Irish football. John, how are you doing? I have a feeling that you have been enjoying the last week.
Oh yeah, hi Vitor. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the last 5 or 6 days have been a bit of a kind of a bit on cloud nine, to be honest. In a lot of ways, it was that feeling. Maybe going to games and Turner's Cross for the last couple of years, you probably realised how much you missed kind of nights like that. But it was incredible just to be there, and even just to see the buzz and just the feel good the factor among everyone in Turner's Cross. So absolutely another cup final now to look forward to, another day out to the Aviva for the likes of like for myself and other many thousands of others from Cork in a few weeks' time now as well.
Yeah, looking forward for that. Okay, we'll jump into the FAI Cup in a second. In the meantime, I'll just start with the League of Ireland games that took place last Friday. I will begin with Waterford beating Drogheda. That was kind of a surprise to me, although I felt that they were boosted by having a new manager, which is nothing new. Sometimes when a new coach came in, there is a positive energy that is reflected on the pitch, and perhaps that influenced that result.
Yeah, I think for sure, and I think it's actually it's Lawler, Matt Lawler, the caretaker man who's coming in. Their record actually under him is actually pretty impressive actually. Going back to, if you go back to when he was previously, I think he was in charge as a caretaker before John Coleman came in, I think as well. But even in his previous spell as a caretaker of Waterford, he's had a pretty good track record, and it's probably the bit of a bounce that Waterford probably need, really, especially at this stage of the season, to keep out of the mire of the relegation playoff from their point of view. And getting a win, it was a good win against like a Drogheda side who are still very much have their own aspirations of qualifying for European football through the league as well. Lonergan and obviously Jesse Dim with the goals on the night. But like on paper, Waterford do have sometimes they started the season very well, but the results probably haven't been as consistent in the last maybe month or two, or doing more recent games and recent weeks. But like if you look at the squad they do have, like they really on their day they are capable of kind of putting up to kind of the majority sides in the division, really. And even like Paul Gammond, even as he kind of heads kind of nearly towards his 40, as he's in his late 30s now, and he's kind of maybe the twilight of his career, but he's like a fine mind overall. Like he seems to be getting better with age. He just knows how to find the net. Like if he gets the right ball in, like he's a threat in the box. Like no two ways about it. But then like Newman, like Tommy Lonergan as well. I think he was at Pats before. So they have a good core of squad, and that's the kind of win they probably didn't, or Waterford would need overall. It was a much welcome win at this stage of the season, just to give them a bit of a boost, because they were kind of on a bit of a decline, maybe results wise, and they hadn't got a win in a couple of games before last Friday night. So this was an important result for Waterford for sure, and one they'll be hoping now will help them to steer clear of the relegation playoff.
The other one that took place last weekend was Derry last minute victory against Sligo that kept them on the fight, at least for another week for the title. It's a bit utopic that they can lift the trophy, but at least they are still putting pressure on Shamrock, who was waiting for the result before their game, their FAI Cup game. So that was a massive 3 points for Derry, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, just to kind of keep the momentum, and like similarly to, like on pay, like I know I talk about Pats when we get to the cup game, but Derry as well. I think they probably would be maybe. I know mathematically Rovers haven't won the league yet, technically, but I think Derry would be probably slightly disappointed this season that they probably on paper, like if you look at the squad they had, that they probably would have they'd maybe go have the pressure right up on the Shamrock Rovers next at this stage of the season. So, because like it was the squad they have is particularly strong there, like and like even like the likes of Michael Duffy who scored against Sligo on Sunday. A lot of league winning, like from his days at Dundalk, a lot of kind of I suppose winning leagues and cups in League of Ireland level, and also obviously he was part of the Dundalk side that was in the Europa League group stages in 2016. So like but I think for Derry, I think it's just a case of just trying to end them and on a high, really, and just try to build. I think even, I think we probably know really at this stage the Shamrock Rovers I think have all but unofficial probably are the league champions at this stage. But I think Derry, I suppose they want to kind of build it, and I suppose even to secure the European football as well for next season, just because it's crucial just in terms of I think especially with the budgets and the money that's gone in with Derry as well. I think they want European football, so I think that just to secure that down that position for next year is essential. And like really, if they can keep the core of the squad together really for next year, I think personally, I think definitely Derry are a side that should be up there challenging for honours, but certainly with the squad they have at the moment, and so it's that's going to be. I think the off season will be important for them as well, and it'll be crucial just to see can they keep the core of this squad together, because I think if they do, like on paper, they should be able to go toe to toe with the likes of Shamrock Rovers if they can get a bit more consistency into their results as well over the season.
So that was the Premier Division last week, and that game was actually Sunday. It was not Friday. It was my bad. And Shamrock Rovers was waiting for the outcome of that game. They thought they could celebrate both their qualify to the final and the title, but the morals didn't go down, and they demolished Kerry FC.
Oh yeah. I think ultimately it was probably it was a result. It was kind of fascinating what you could, from I think Kerry. I think they bought nearly in terms of supporters they bought up as well. It was nearly the equivalent of the capacity of Mount Hog Park. So there was over 1,000, and it was fair play to Kerry FC as well. I think they put on almost a ton of free buses for a load of right across the county in Kerry. They put on free supporters buses, like from the likes of Killarney, the Stole, Tralee, and there's other locations in Kerry as well. But they put on buses free of charge for supporters to go up and down. I suppose that was great to see as well. And it was I think really. And it's when you see what Colin Healy's done there as well in such a short space of time, and what Kerry as a club have done in such a short space of time, just being a part of an occasion like an FAI Cup semi-final, it certainly should probably whet the appetite, and hopefully it'll be something that they can build on as the club looks to progress over the next couple of years, and ultimately they would have the objective of getting into the Premier Division. And I think with Colin Healy there as well, there's no better man at the helm of the ship there to be able to do that, But I think obviously with the result, I think it definitely it went along expected lines in the end. Rovers they did what they had to do, and they I suppose there was bits and pieces in terms of the quality. I thought they probably showed with some of the goals and the way they kind of passed through for them. Michael Noonan's goal, for example, goals at Graeme Burke on the score sheet, and obviously Dylan Watson, Cian Barrett as well. I did know all those goals that went in. I think they probably there was kind of times maybe they showed maybe from a Kerry perspective to step up between maybe the top of the Premier Division and the First Division at the moment as well. I think without one of the, even on top of the result, obviously keep the Rovers. They're one step away, and I think you could even see with Stephen Bradley how serious he was taking this game in terms of like how they rested players, for the game against Sparta Prague the previous week, and maybe a lot of the likes of Graeme, Burke, and a couple others as well. You're thinking, maybe you're in the Europa League game, would you go full out for it? But he was saying, oh no, we're going for double, and I think like Shamrock Rovers haven't won a double since 1987. So like that just showed you really he was full focus on this game, and this is a trophy, and this is our bread and butter at the end of the day. But I think overall, look, it was job done, box ticked, and that's what Shamrock Rovers are about, and that's what Stephen Bradley wants them to be about, to be in these big games in the Aviva Stadium, and that's the way it is, and that's the way they operate, and they'll have to court now in a few weeks' time. And I think finally also Graeme, Burke. I think probably the incident. I know I'm not sure what your own thoughts and Vitor are with regards to the especially with the kind of the clash, the coming together with himself and the Kerry player Joe Adams. But I think maybe he looked a bit kind of. Okay, especially even the commentators were half shocked as well in the end at watching the coverage. But I think to be honest, he probably was a bit fortunate, probably that.
Yes,
I think if there was VAR, I think he probably would have got a red card. Probably, to be honest.
I agree with you. To me, that's a red. It's out of the question. I mean, even if without VAR, I think it's obvious that there was an intent of targeting the opponent, and in that case, it has to be a red. No, I'm sorry, it's a red.
No, it was lucky. Yeah, because even because he probably would have been out for the cup final if it was. I think if it's in the cup, it would carry in terms of their creative outlets, he's such a key player for them as well. And it would have been a hammer blow to have him out for a final. To be honest, and so. Rover, ultimately, it was job done for Rovers. They're exactly where they want to be, and they'll be going full steam ahead now for the final in a few weeks' time. And and even as well, it's actually another point as well with the final. I think it's only 3 days for Shamrock Rovers. It's only 3 days after they play in Greece against AEK Athens in the Europa League. So it'll be interesting to see how Bradley approaches that game. And I think will it be similar to the Sparta Prague game as well? Like from last week, will they could make a few changes and maybe rest some of their maybe so-called kind of more creative or some of their star players like for the cup final. So that'd be something just to keep an eye on as well. Over that week.
I read somewhere on the news that perhaps the game could be postponed because they are struggling to get trains and buses from Cork. And is it something that is still under discussion, or the date is already settled?
But for the cup final or the
for the cup final, yeah.
I think I think as far as I understand, I think the tickets are I think they've been on sale yesterday, so it's nailed on. I think it seems to be all systems go for the 9th of November, and I think there's even already. I think the FAI had a post up on social media yesterday saying that that 15,000 tickets have been sold already. So I think it's going to be.
That's a lot, no? Yeah, 15.
It'll be some occasion for sure,
Yeah, I didn't know that Shamrock Rovers is playing in Prague a couple of days earlier. That can be something positive for us. Yeah, maybe they can. I don't want to sound nasty in this podcast, but maybe they can spend another extra day in Greece enjoying themselves. There's so much to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Enjoy the sun, George. Get a bit of winter sun this day.
Yeah, go for some history in Athens. I don't know. Have a few bottles of Greek wine. Enjoy, guys. You deserve after this season.
Yeah.
Going to our favorite topic of the night, John. I was half joking when I said I wish I would see you in November in Aviva. To be honest, I was half joking. There was a part of me that was believing that could be something real, but when I was watching the match on Friday, I couldn't believe how focused the team was, how compact, how they were acting out, as a team, the confidence levels, uh, um, and then the attack was just they were just sure of their mission. They know what they were there for, and Pats couldn't do anything. They were just watching us.
Yeah, that was the thing that I thought it was just unbelievable. The way what an occasion, first of all. I think this being there and this, you kind of just felt it was going to be a special night. Like even before the game, obviously it was much publicised. There was obviously the protests against the owner from supporters groups, which obviously were flagged in the days leading up to the game last Friday. But and to in fairness, as soon as they made their point, and then as soon as that was over, they were fully behind the team, and it was just unbelievable, And it was kind of weird, like in a kind of ironic way. I think with the I think it kind of the atmosphere, the fans were kind of going, and then it kind of added to the atmosphere in one sense, in terms of it got the supporters' vocal cords warm in one way, And it was just some occasion overall, like even it probably was 2016, 2017, 2018, the last time I saw Turner's Cross rocking and heaving and leaving Turner's Cross with such of a buzz amongst the Cork City supporters group as there was last Friday night. And they had plenty of reasons to be happy and to be joyous, and that was a credit to the team. John Ash, the management, David Moyler, Mark McNulty, and all the backroom staff and all the players, of course, as well. It was an absolutely terrific performance from Cork City from the first minute to last. You could see they were focused, and they were ready from the go, and you could see even you touched on there, Vitor, like the shape of the team, the way their attitude, their application, they were at it from minute one, and I'm not sure. Maybe was it using the build up a whole lot, but I mean, a lot last week. There was kind of talk maybe in the media, about potentially being an all Dublin final, like St. Pat's and Shamrock Rovers, the two best footballing sides in the country. And it could have been something like I think even John Ash actually mentioned it in his interview afterwards that he didn't use it, but he was kind of maybe referring that the players might have used it as motivation, that they weren't being respected, and we had to go out and prove a point here. But by God, they certainly did that. Like if just throughout, I just think throughout the whole team, even to pick a man of the match for me was it was a difficult job. I know Seanie Maguire got it on the night, and well deserved. But you could have given it to any one of the Cork City players, really. It was just they were all switched on. They all did their roles, and it was a terrific performance. And just even but the goal, like Seanie Maguire, it was performances like last Friday night. They were the reason why Cork City fans were getting so excited when Seanie Maguire was coming back to the Cork City.
Yes,
because you were seeing shades of Seanie Maguire before he went over to Preston, like 2016, 2017. When City won the Premier Division, and I think it shows when he's, and I think it's been unfortunate maybe during the spells of the season, having him out through injury and having Rory Keating obviously out for such a large portion of the season through injury. But you could see even the way he led the line and the way his work rate. I think if Cork City had Rory Keating and Maguire probably fit for the whole season, they probably wouldn't be in the position that they're in the league table. But he really just led by example, and it was a terrific performance. And you would see even I think the leadership skills he has on the pitch. I think they also translate off the pitch. Like I was speaking to Matthew Murray ahead of the game last week for the Cork City the match program, and he was just referring to how Seanie, even in the team meeting ahead of the Pats game last week, how the likes of Seanie and Greg Bolger, and Mark McNulty as well, they were kind of referring and just, I suppose, just telling the the younger players in the squad, and like the likes of Freddie Anderson coming in and known from England, how much it means to play for Cork City and how exciting a week it is to be playing in the Aviva and the Cup Final. And you see, they definitely listened, for sure, because like it was an inspired performance, and like even Evan McLaughlin, obviously was, he had a terrific performance, and credit to him with the 2 goals he got as well. It was unbelievable. Like his first goal went in, and just the scene, the celebration were something to behold. He took it very well as well, to be fair. And like, you're only settling down after that goal. Like Cork City supporters were, and then the third goal goes in, and it was just absolute bananas amongst the 3/4 of the ground, and obviously then and the Cork City fans that would have been in the St. Anne's end as well of Turner's Cross. But like you couldn't really give enough credit to Cork City for a performance like last night. Last Friday night. Sorry, it was just they were tuned in, and fair play to them for that. And I think also just from the other side of the coin, just from a St. Pat's perspective, it's like I think maybe a night like last Friday night was probably it's probably a major disappointment for them in terms of their season, because they're under fierce pressure now to make Europe through the league. And like if you look at the squad that they have on paper, like to not be winning trophies, or to certainly not to be qualifying for Europe, it would be a big hammer blow for them. But like, it was just, and there was probably this City went at them, and they just didn't really have an answer for really until St. Pat's. Like it's kind of followed the team in their season. Like their away form has been a bit patchy this year, and from their perspective, it was patchy probably at the wrong time and the wrong place. And Friday night, like it was, they will be disappointed. The likes of Mason Needles, the talent is there for all to see, like the team. So like not to be in the cup final would be a big disappointment for them and for their season.
Yeah, I actually spoke to a friend of mine who is a big Pats fan, and he is saying now I'm fully supporting Shamrock Rovers in the final, just in case we finish 4th.
Oh gee, yeah. Because I think there's that knock. I think with the league, I think there's knock. Like if Rovers do win the cup, I think it's and there's an extra European place becomes available through the league. So like, unfortunately, it's not like some. I think it might have been before as well that sometimes the runners up in the cup would get the European place, even if Rovers had won. But like, no, I think like from a Cork City perspective, if you want to be dreaming of a European tour next year, we have to go and win the cup. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, that is actually my dream of the dreams, is to support Cork City in Europe. I mentioned that at the start of the podcast, and now it's a real possibility. And talking of that, let's move to the Conference League. There were a couple of games last Thursday, so a week ago. Let's start with, maybe we can start with Shamrock Rovers. I would say the Dubs were expecting a different outcome. Not necessarily that they would win. Perhaps they could draw, but that result was nowhere near the expectations.
No, I mean, it's probably, at least I suppose from a Rovers perspective or supporters, though, it's a nice trip to go to a midweek trip to Prague. So there's probably, it's one of the better trips in Europe for sure. Like definitely some of the away ones, if the Rovers fans have got Prague, it's a lovely city for sure. But I think on the pitch, ultimately, it probably, and I think it was probably for the first 20-30 minutes of this game, it was Rovers were going fairly well enough, but I think some of the goals, like I think that's probably something that would have been the most disappointing from a Rovers, or the most eye-opening thing from a Rovers perspective. It was just like, this shows like if you're off at that, if you switch off even for half a second at that level, you're punished. Like it's as simple as that, and I think that's how, like, and that's how Prague kind of really, it went a long way for them getting the 3 points last week. No, I'm not. And even saying that, I'm not saying Prague or like an average enough take. I think they're probably, they would be kind of considered one of the teams that could go to, fancy to go to the latter stages of this competition. You know, so like I think Rovers they probably have on paper as well. It probably is it's one of their tougher games in the of the games that they do have for sure. You know, going to Prague, but I think ultimately, I think they could have a few complaints on the. I think the better side clearly won the night in Sparta Prague, and I suppose one of the talking points, obviously, from it, I know I touched on it earlier, was the fact Rovers that Stephen Bradley named the team against Prague with one eye on the Kerry game. Do you know, you see Graeme Burke, Dylan Watts, Michael Noonan, for example, or Danny Mandroy, you would think Graeme, if you're naming your strongest 11, like Graeme Burke probably would be in it. And there's it was definitely the approach Rovers had to the game. It seemed like they had one eye on the cup semi-final against Kerry. So like that seemed to be the way about it, and that's the way that's ultimately what happened. And so I think in the end, it was probably just they couldn't have any complaint. One night down in terms of the group stages, I think they'd be hoping to. I think they're playing Celje. That won't be an easy one either for sure. But that's at home on the 23rd, and I think probably the home games I think for Rovers are going to be in terms of pick up results. They're going to be fairly important if they want to get points on the board and try to repeat the dream run that they had last year into the knockout stages, and obviously losing over penalties against Molde. That was a great performance actually that night, and they were lucky not to go through. So I think obviously with the AEK Athens, the other game they have away from home, and that's going to be another. I suppose you would think a challenging game for Rovers on the road. And I think is it Breidablik? I think I'm pronouncing it wrong now, but that's I think that's their other away game. But then I think the home game, obviously Celje, and I think their Hamrun is the last one. They'll be hoping to get results in them for sure. And I think the other home game they have then is it's actually going to be quite difficult. Probably would you consider one of the favourites of the tournament. You would think in Shakhtar Donetsk is who they're playing in the end of November. So like, excuse me, I think that would be a tricky enough one to win. You think for sure, but I think they'll be looking to get a result for sure, probably in the next game, just to get some points on the board, and just to keep them within touching distance of qualification for the knockout stages as well.
Yeah, some say that Shelbourne has an easier schedule in the Conference League. They managed to collect 1 point, which I think is not bad for their debut, and it's, if I remember, about 375,000 grand in their pocket. So more than the point is the money. So perhaps they can utilize that to develop their team going forward. So I'd say it's not a bad result given they're new to the competition.
No, for sure. And like, to be fair, it was a fully merited point, at least for Shells on the night against Hacken. And easily, it probably could have been a both sides, probably Hacken as well. Shelbourne, I think they both could have probably claimed they could have got 3 points as well. They both had opportunities on the night, and it was fair play. I think though, in terms of their first game at the group stage European level, Shells I think would be reasonably pleased. And from watching the game last week, there was a number of positives that they could take out of it. They kept their shape fairly well. They were competitive, and they looked kind of relatively right at home. I thought anyway at that level of the game, and it's a big credit even to Joey O'Brien as well, and have them competing at that level as well. Really, like when Damien Duff went out the door at Shelbourne, very easily things could have in another team or in another dressing room, the wheels could have come off the wagon there fairly fast. It could have gone down a slippery slope for sure. But like, in fairness, that in terms of the continuity, that say like Joey O'Brien deserves a lot of credit for keeping Shells right on track. And I think it was evident in games like last night as well, or like last week against Hacken. So they fully deserved it, and they fully deserved their point. And it's something they'll be looking to build on now as the group stages go. And I think as well, the home games, like I was touching on with Rovers, I think Shelbourne will be hoping to kind of pick as much points as possible up at home as well. And I think Ace that Altmere they have to play away from home, and I think their last home game actually will be a kind of a high profile one for sure, because Crystal Palace are coming to Tallaght Stadium, so that should be a great night as well for Shells. But like there's a good spine and a good continuity, I think, with the club, and I think this run kind of proves it as well. Even you were mentioning how much it was worked for Shells, and even to pick up a point in the group stages last Thursday night. I can look at the Shells squad as well, and Joy O'Brien and the setup they have there. You kind of get the sense that it's a squad that I would think that a good majority of that squad should still be around next season as well. And nights like last Thursday night, that's something they want to whet the appetite for the years to come, and also to be competitive in the league, because they're a side who, if you're looking at teams who could be the main challengers to the Shamrock Rovers, you think it could potentially be Shelbourne if they keep the core of that squad, and maybe add players in one or two different areas as well. So they'd be looking to build. Overall, it was a positive night for Shells last Thursday night, and they'd be looking to build it now in the coming weeks and over the next couple of months in the Europa League, Conference League.
We have a comment here from a precise comment, City Tivaidai. So share with myself and John, we subscribe that sentence from the first letter to the last. And on that note, I hoped, John, that we can meet again in this podcast next year discussing Cork City in the Conference League. It is another dream to share with the viewers, discussing Cork City playing in Bosnia or Latvia, something like that.
Oh yeah, well, we'll take that. That would be a fantastic scenario for sure. I mean, I think you will see how dreams become reality. Like even when I was last on, it was kind of more out of hope, maybe an expectation that something like that could materialise. But they're full value. They got the result against Pats, and who knows? Maybe with cup football, it's all on the day. You don't know. I mean, if you match them up like Rovers on paper with Cork City, like you think Shamrock Rovers, like in the majority of positions on the pitch, you would think you think they're stronger than Cork City, but like in terms of the collective, it all comes together. Cup final or cup football can do something strange, and it's all on the day and a one-off occasion, and you just don't know, and we can dream, hopefully. Hopefully the dreams become reality in a couple of weeks' time from a Cork City perspective. But overall, you have to give credit to John Ash and the road that they've done there. I think he was even an interesting point that came out of last week. I thought even after the game, he was kind of saying, even no matter in terms of the week to week, though, in terms of the philosophy that they're building there, he's trying to build something longer term there in terms of the experienced lads that are in the squad, and also marrying that with some of the young players that are coming up from the academy, we all know that the amount of talent that's coming through the Cork City Academy in the last couple of years. So like you can see, he's there long term and he's trying to build something. And so if he could beat Shamrock Rovers in a cup final, he'll definitely earn him a free pass with Cork City fans for quite a while, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let's move to the first division and staying on Cork topics here, but we shift the attention to our neighbors in Cove, because they still have a word. I was checking the mathematics of the table, and they still have a word. Like, we all thought that Dundalk would have it easy, but they are only 4 points ahead, which means if they draw with Finnarps on Friday and Rambers collect the 3 points, then there'll be a massive game the weekend after in Cove. Is it something that Cove Rambers can dream of?
I suppose like when it's mathematically, when it's alive, you just never know. I mean, like obviously I remember from a Cork perspective, go back to 2011, the league that famous night when Graeme Cummins scored in the 94th minute and on the last night of the season to win the league against Shelbourne. Like it was. I remember that season with about 10 games to go. They were about 10 points behind Shelbourne in the league, and like they clawed it back, and it went down to the final day of the season, and Cork City they won in what an iconic. It was like it was actually 6 months before Sergio Aguero had that moment when he won the league for Manchester City on the last day of the season. Like so, Cork City fans know all about that as well. So thanks to that Graeme Cummins goal. But like, yeah, I think Cove in terms of the mentality that they're trying to build down there. They're taking one game at a time, and all they can do is look after their business. And in fairness, that's what they're doing, and they're building a bit of momentum. I think even because Bray were a side as well who have been in good form. So that was a good result to get last weekend against Bray for Ramblers in St. Coleman's Park. Like they build, and even if I suppose all they can do now is maybe just win up in Longford and tomorrow night on Friday night, and if just look after themselves, and then to see what happens after that. If Dundalk win the league, they win the league, but if they don't, what an occasion it's going to be down in Coleman's Park Friday week. A title decider, you'd imagine St. Coleman's Park would be absolutely packed to the rafters for that. But look, I think if Dundalk do win the league, which we all will be revealed tomorrow night, if Cove have to focus on the playoffs, I think of the teams that are in that playoff mix in the first division. If you look at the squad, like Barry Coffey, for example, getting nearly, I think he's got 25 goals now this season. He's been on absolute fire in the first division this year. They have a lot of experience. The likes of Keane Murphy, even Shane Griffin, who's a Premier League with Shelbourne actually, from Barry Coffey, Dylan Midlade. There's a lot of guys who have experience of winning that division with Cork City in promotion. So like if you're looking maybe at, in terms of the relegation, in terms of the promotion relegation playoff, if there's one team you think you would be slightly wary of playing in that kind of one-off occasion, it probably would be Cove Ramblers, just with the experience and the quality that they do have on their side,
Yeah, I would say if Cove Ramblers find themselves in the playoff and they face Galway or Waterford, they would be my favorites. I'll put my money on them. With Sligo, I'm not sure, but if it's Galway or Waterford, I'll be confident that Cove Ramblers will make their fans happy.
Yeah, and it just show like even the wonders of you're dreaming and even if you're a Cork City fan, for example, like you could be in Europe next year, but pretend playing in the first division, and if there's one Cork team in the Premier Division, it could be Cove Ramblers. There was a credit, like it's such as football, I suppose, but fair play. It would be great to see, like, because there's a lot of good people down in Cove Ramblers as well. Some great volunteers, great club people, the likes of Bob Donovan, who I'm sure many people watching and listening to this podcast would be very familiar with as well. Cove, they're building something down there fairly good, and I think if Michael McDermott and the management, and if they be hoping to maybe keep that core of that squad there for next year as well, and try to build something and try to get up and to get into the top flight, because it is a big, obviously people know from being Roy Keane's playing spell there, but like it is a soccer mad town really. Most places in Cork you would consider maybe GAA would be the main sport, or the GAA dominated kind of a landscape. But whereas if you go down to Cove, it is very unique. It's one town. It's the one town in Cork you go into. I find that it's the soccer mad really. You have Cove Ramblers, Cove Wanderers, Springfield Ramblers. You know, it is a soccer mad town, and I think there would be some atmosphere though if they were in the Premier Division for sure. And like it's love even for some of the Dublin clubs as well, the likes of Rovers. You know, there's plenty worse places. Let me put it that way, to go for an away trip if you're a fan. You know, on a summer's evening down.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, on a summer's evening, you could drive down into the sun shining down into the harbour there in Cove. Like it's a lovely way trip for sure. You know.
It is. It's not a bad place to spend an evening with or without football. Okay. I had a lot of fun there when I lived down in Cork. Okay, talking of the dubs, there's a Dublin derby taking place tomorrow, which is massive for both teams. I'd say Rovers, they want to secure the title, especially taking consideration the FAI Cup on the horizon plus the European games. And I would say if I would be a Rovers fan, I would be delighted to win against the current champions and the rivals. In other words, Shelbourne.
Yeah, I think for sure, like it should be a great buzz and a great night in Tala. Though they've been used to them over the last couple of years, and I think ultimately, I think psychologically, I think that's something that even Stephen Bradley would be hoping to, and the players would be hoping to use as well, because as fuel, the fact that to beat the current champions still in Shelbourne, because though I think last year Rovers probably felt that they maybe in the league that they didn't show their full hand, you know, and like they probably, especially in the first half of last year, they probably were a bit inconsistent results wise. I know that they went on a great run, and they very easily could have won the league last year as well. They took it down to the final of the season. Of course, was it a thrilling finale? Obviously Shelbourne, of course, Harry Wood winning the game for them up in the Brandywell, and sparked wild celebrations among Shelbourne, Damien Duff and co at the time. So I think definitely it'll be one for for Shamrock Rovers to beat Shelbourne. It'll be something that will motivate the group, and you know, if they do get the job done, it is I know I've probably mentioned it a few times, like, but it'll be a massive credit to what Stephen Bradley has done up in Tala with Shamrock Rovers. You know, in terms of what he's built and consistently week in or year in year out, he's got them to be like, definitely you have to say kind of convincingly the best team in the country, and not only this season but over maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've been the top club in the country, like, for sure. And like, that's a big credit to what Stephen Bradley's done there. Do you know what I mean? It's not so long ago, less than a decade ago, the Shamrock Rovers fans were unfurling banners calling for Bradley to be sacked. Like, do you know what? And it was fair play to the club and to the board there as well for sticking with him and giving him the opportunity to implement his vision and his kind of philosophy on the club. And so again, it should be like Dublin derbies usually are fairly good affairs anyway, and tomorrow should be no different. And like Rovers, they'll be hoping to get the job done and completing for them, which would be one leg of a double, and obviously that goes hand in hand with our cup conversation earlier as well. And you know, in terms of how serious they're, you know, maybe in terms of resting some of their stronger players for the Europa League games, because like if Rovers win tomorrow, and it's one leg of what they hope will be a double, and the last time Shamrock Rovers, I think, did the double was in 1987. So you know, there's plenty at stake for Shamrock Rovers, rather, like to get that done and get that piece of history. And you know, not that his legacy isn't already secured in Shamrock Rovers folklore, but like if he was to cement a double or secure double, it would, you know, really, in terms of Stephen Bradley's pedestal at Shamrock Rovers, you know, in his place in history would be really, really high up the ranks at that club for 100% if they were to win a double. You know, it really, and it probably would be the defining element of his legacy there for sure if they could do a double. You know.
So Shells, they are visiting Shamrock on Friday, and Monday they travel again, this time to Cork City. So a lot of away games for Shells, plus the European. So they're also under a lot of pressure. I would be interested in how Cork is going to face this game. because relegation is nearly confirmed, though mathematically there's still a tiny chance, but they are boosted after the result with Pats last week. So it'll be interesting to see how does that unfold on Monday.
Yeah, it'd be kind of an interesting dynamic for sure, because really in terms of the cup has probably just given City a new lease of life in the season. It probably felt like there was maybe a drudgery or maybe a doom and gloom that relegation is inevitable here for Cork City, and it probably still, if you look at the table, it's still very likely, or probably almost certain from a Cork City perspective, that they're going to be facing life in the first division for sure. But it'd be interesting to see how the game against Pats will, how will in terms of the performance, and maybe in terms of building momentum as well for the, if anything else, they wanted this maybe be winning games of football just to kind of build a bit of momentum for the final, and also maybe they're in terms of the competition for places as well. Everyone in that Cork City team is going to want to be on the starting team for the final. So they'll have a motivation there, but obviously in terms of just trying to just keep their slim chances of staying up alive for sure. I know it's very unlikely, but if you look at the league table, but until it's mathematically impossible, I think that's all you can do as a player, is just keep going and keep trying to target it. Or if, for Shells, I suppose it not only from tomorrow night against Rovers, but Monday night in terms of getting results for they'd be looking just to creep up the table. I think if they get they're only 4, it's kind of competitive enough, the bunch there. There's only 4 points I think between Shells and 6th and Bows and 3rd. So it's still up for grabs there in terms of who's going to get that 3rd spot, which is pivotal, as we've been kind of discussing for European football. So Shells they'll have their own motivations to go down there and get a result, and it'd be intriguing just to see how it goes, especially from a Cork City perspective after the high of last Friday night and beating Pats in the cup.
Okay, so we also have the national team. We shouldn't disregard, given there are 2 massive games. First in Portugal on Saturday, and then in the Aviva with Armenia. I think they are vital. Ireland needs to win at least one of them. I hope they manage. Even I'm going to say, maybe Portuguese people are going to crucify me here, but I don't care. I would like to see Ireland at least drawing, because we will qualify. Let's be honest, Portugal will qualify. So I want Ireland to be second. So if Ireland win or draw, I won't be unhappy. And I'm not saying that to be cute to you guys. I really mean it. So fingers crossed.
No, hopefully, and this week, I think it was this week, it kind of popped as a reminder up on social media, my social media feeds anyway, over the week. This week was the 10th year anniversary of when Ireland beat Germany in the Aviva, Shane Long scoring that famous goal when Germany were at the time were still the World Cup champions as well. Unbelievable scenes they were. So I saw we can dare to dream in terms of maybe something similar happening 10 years on over in Portugal on Saturday. In terms of the doubleheader, I think realistically from an Irish perspective, I think it was a draw. Anything you can get from a game, if they get a point, it would be I'd say. I think if you offered Heimer Helmgrensen a point now, he would take it with open arms, 100%. But in terms of the doubleheader, I think definitely the game against Armenia is the one which definitely is a must win at this stage as well. It was such a hammer blow to go over to Armenia and not pick up. In terms of the suffering the defeat over there. After what was it kind of overall? There was a lot of excitement going into the first game in the group against Hungary, and look overall there was, although it ended in a draw. I remember coming away from the Aviva that night after the Hungary game. There was still a bit of positivity, and there was still a bit of hang on, there's only one game gone, and look, there was kind of a bit of optimism among Irish supporters. Thinking, look, maybe who knows? Ireland could potentially be capable of going out to Budapest and getting a result. So it was so disappointing then, like, just to see how the game in Armenia folded out from an Irish perspective then. And, you know, it could be a fatal blow, maybe, in terms of Ireland qualifying. And for at least the playoffs, where that proves to be the case, we'll wait and see. But, you know, it'd be an interesting night for sure for Ireland over in Lisbon against Portugal. And, you know, it'd be interesting to see how the whole thing kind of, how it pans out. And I think even for as an occasion as well, it'd be interesting. It probably, you'd imagine, will be an emotional night as well for Portugal and the players, because I think, from my understanding, it's certainly it's their first competitive game at home since the passing of the tragic passing of Diego Jota. So
yeah,
so you'd imagine that the Portugal or the Portuguese FA, you imagine there'd be some tribute in the build up to the game as well on Saturday. So like you'd imagine. So, like, as an occasion, you know, it'll be fairly poignant and emotional for sure. And look, in terms of the game, like you think all indicators you think should point to a Portugal win, unfortunately. But, you know, you never know. Like, Ireland definitely, in terms of the compact and, you know, under Heimer, hopefully if they can get back to this being solid and go over and get the results, we'll see. You know, I remember it was actually the last time Ireland played Portugal, and to see, like, thinking of John Egan being called back into the squad. The last time Ireland played Portugal over, I think it was in Faro a couple of years ago. It was early enough in Stephen Kenny's reign in charge in the qualifier, but it was like, I remember John Egan scored to put Ireland ahead, and there was absolute pandemonium. You're kind of daring to dream. Gee, what a dream start this is going to be. And Gavin Bazunu saving a penalty from Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Mm-hmm. And then, but once that the man himself, Ronaldo, pops up with to win the game, literally with the last kick of the game, even though it was almost 3 minutes, it was almost 2.5 minutes over. The 4 minutes that read it on, but that's another story. But no, you know, who knows? We'll wait and see. But, you know, I think if you offered Heimer Henderson, though, 4 points over this window, I think he'd take it, to be honest. It would be a reasonable enough return, a draw in Portugal than a win home to Armenia. But, you know,
I actually recall in 1995, I was 12 back then. I remember Ireland beating Portugal in the Aviva 1-0, and that was an own goal from our goalkeeper Vitor Bahia, who was, I think at the time, he was not playing for my team, for Porto. I think he was playing for Barcelona, if I recall well. But we were very upset with him, especially me, because I was always a big fan of Vitor Bahia because he was goalkeeper of my team. We share the same name, so you know, I was always a big fan of that lad. But so maybe history can repeat itself, and you guys win with an own goal. Doesn't matter, 3 points on the pocket, so you'll take it.
Absolutely. Is that'd be some way to, if that were to happen, it would certainly, it'd be an understatement to say it'd be after injecting Ireland's World Cup qualifying hopes back into life, for sure. You know, if that were to pass.
Yeah. Look, so I think we cover it all, and just for the viewers, myself and John were briefly discussing the idea of having a preview of the Cup Final to try to bring some other Cork fans here. Cornell as well. He's not a Cork fan, but he's a fantastic commentator. So we'll be here every week, normally on Thursdays, but we will do something special for the Cup before and after, because that is historical. So we'll do a Cork corner before the Aviva. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that, Vitor. That'd be fantastic. And just to build up, you can even see already there's a bit of excitement building amongst this Cup Final. It's been the show. It's been a showpiece occasion in Irish football in the last couple of years. I've been to at least the last two as a neutral. I was even at the Derry Drogheda game last year, and like it's a great occasion. It's probably one of the best, if not my favourite, personally, for sure. The best day to go to the Aviva for a game of football. Just in terms of the game itself, the atmosphere, it's electric. You have fans leaving smoke bombs and the singing and chanting. It's just a great day. It's a great advertisement for the League of Ireland and domestic Irish football. And it'd be great to as the build up, as it gets closer to join you again, and just to kind of get a sample of and to build up the excitement ahead of the game, especially from a Cork down here, and see how as the excitement builds down here in Cork, and just hopefully the mood grows and the excitement builds as the day edges ever closer,
Yeah, you'll be looking forward for that. So for folks who want to be part of the conversation, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There are two options, manually, or you can use that QR there. So there is a duck in the middle. I wish I could have I could put a Cork scarf around the duck. I will do my best if Cork wins the cup. That's the objective.
It would look nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
A Cork duck.
A Cork, oh yeah. A Cork, an unofficial mascot, isn't it?
Yeah, an unofficial. Why not? Yeah. So thanks very much, John. I want to thank the viewers. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to share with someone who missed the show. And if you enjoy what we do here, let us know by clicking the like button below. John, have a good evening and keep in touch, mate. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Vitor. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.